Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Hope This Is Helpful podcast, where we share our integral perspective about everything and nothing. I am your host, Tiara Harris, and I'm joined by my husband and co-host,
Leon Harris.
Mr. Leon Harris. I don't know why he decided to be Leon tonight. So let's jump right into it. Let's do our intimacy card. So our first segment is that we do an intimacy card. We answer it, kind of share a little bit about ourselves for you guys to kind of get to know us a little bit better. And our question today is, what does my love feel like?
In a good way, I guess, overwhelming. Because it's not like what I'm used to or ever had. Mm-hmm. So it's really different still to this day. That's probably just my issues mentally. Like sometimes I'm kind of unbelievable and I have a hard time grasping that. No, it's real. But it's not nothing you do. It's just my overprotectiveness, like trying to protect myself.
Right.
So yeah, overwhelming in a good way.
That was a beautiful answer. Because I was like, "Ooh, is it a bad way?" What does your love feel like? Your love, for me, feels like, I don't want to use the word perfection. It feels nice. It feels comfortable. It feels like what I want, exactly what I wanted. It's not this need to show up perfect in either one of us, but you can see us showing up. Mm-hmm. Even in our imperfections, we show up and we support each other, and we're learning each other still, like we're supposed to be. We're learning what that work looks like, and it's not one-sided. It feels safe. It feels comfortable. It feels like what I want, and I don't want it to change.
That's encouraging to hear. That's good.
Our next segment, guys, is story time. We share a story, whether it's good or bad, about our 5-year-old. Since you don't get to see her on this podcast, if you would like to see a little bit about her, you can watch our vlogs on Harris Hope and Humor. If you're listening, if you're watching, you're already on our Harris Hope and Humor channel on YouTube. Hello again. So this is for you guys to kind of get to know a little bit about her in a different way, since you don't actually get to see her on the podcast. So, Leon.
Spasms killing me tonight. I never have a story. She just always does something funny all the time. Kind of plays me all the time. I don't have anything. I'm so sorry.
You don't have anything?
I'm trying to think.
Okay. I'll go.
I'm always forgetting this one. I knew the intimacy cards. I forgot about the story.
I think you do this every time you forget that it's a story.
And I have notes in my phone. I do take notes, but my phone is recorded.
What I'm going to share about our daughter actually ties into our topic today. And I want to share how amazing she was handling my recovery process. I think for what I thought, and that could be my own anxiety or worries, I thought that it was going to be much harder in terms of parenting her to handle my recovery than it actually was. I feel like she took it in stride, and she was very caring. She was very mindful. She was almost maybe empathetic is a good word. She became almost like a little carer herself. Like she became a little caregiver in her own way of wanting to make sure I wasn't doing too much, wanting to make sure if I was trying to show up for her, that it was safe for me, that it was okay for me. And then I was trying to come up with different things for us to do so that she still felt connected to me, because a lot of the ways, like the physical touch ways that she likes to play and feel connected, was kind of lost for a very long period of time. So I kept thinking of different things for us to do together, and she kind of had her own ideas, and it was enough for her to just be in the same space as me, to just be in bed with me, to just watch TV with me, to be able to have her toys in the bed, and just be in my presence. And so I think she handled it very well for what I was anticipating.
Yeah, she did. She was really good. She was chill, even though me and her she was chill. We had a good recovery.
Do you have a different story, or do you want to just jump into our topic?
I have a story. So we have a tree out front, and one of the branches, a big piece of the branch fell. So me and Noe was looking like, oh, we gotta get it so Mama can put the van in. So I was like, I got it. Yeah, I wasn't able to get all of it. So she's like, I got you, Daddy, and literally helped pick it up. I put it on my shoulders, and she helped me, and we moved it out. We broke up some of the other sticks. We'll put the video in. But she just always shows me, it bothers me a lot though, that she has to live her life a little differently because Daddy's different. But I hope she's handling the stride. I hope there's no resentment later. But for the times I do ask for help, she helps. Yeah. And she a good helper.
She's a great helper. I saw a video on TikTok that was talking about what it's like to be an interracial family and what it looks like for their children. And their children were a little bit older, but it was I don't remember the exact same story, but one of the things that she said about their family was she kind of believes that these are the children that change the world, because they see so much. They see it through that lens that we wish the whole world saw it through, and they become extremely empathetic and compassionate, and they kind of push for change. And that's what it was. It was a dance that her dad was going on with her, and she was more worried about. They thought that she would be worried about how different it would look for her that her dad was in a wheelchair versus everybody else's dad not being in a wheelchair. And she said that she was worried that nobody would talk to her dad. And that was her major concern, was that they were going to get to this dance and none of the other parents would talk to him, or like the other kids would talk to him, even though like she knew that she would and she was comfortable. That was what her concern was. And I think it'll be interesting to see how different the kids in our lives are, because you are in our life, like even including my niece and nephews, who, when we met, my niece was four.
She just turned 4, yeah.
Yeah, my nephew was like my oldest nephew. Well, he's not. Yeah, he's my oldest nephew. He was probably going on 1 year old at that point. But even just the way like she cares for you, and she's worried about you, and she's looking for you. So like when we have to spend Thanksgiving apart, she's like, why, where's Uncle Leon? Why is Uncle Leon here? And this is not fair. I don't like that he's not here. And so it'll be interesting to see how different they approach accessibility, inclusion, diversity, and just the world, because their lens is a little bit different. And yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what who she becomes, and how she embraces it, and what things may end up being like more difficult for her. I think at 5 we haven't really experienced a lot that could be hard. I think when we went to the beach, that felt like that should have been hard, but I think just the excitement of being at the beach was enough for her that it didn't.
You had the chair, so that took a lot of stress off of you.
Yeah,
about me,
but I thought like all of the back and forth of like, now Daddy's in the chair for the beach, we got to put his manual chair away. Like I thought that would get to her after a while, because it was kind of like, in my mind, it was delaying her fun. Yeah, like she could see the beach and it's like, not yet. But maybe it's different because this is all she knows too. Yeah. She doesn't know any. Yeah, it wasn't like it's not a transition.
She could just up and go, and then, oh no, Daddy can't do that. No, Daddy ain't never go.
Our topic for tonight, for today, yes, we are recording this at night. This is our first time recording at night, and shout out to the people that do this all the time. Our topic for today is just to talk about what it was like for me to recover from my hysterectomy. If you haven't heard the previous episode where we discussed why I had a hysterectomy, that episode is there. But just a quick background: about 2 months ago, maybe even going on almost 3 at this point, I had made a decision to treat myself to a hysterectomy, because I finally came to the point where it was a form of self-care, to kind of not have to do all of the hard things anymore, not have to figure things out. You know, I was having issues with my bladder. Long story short, I had a hysterectomy, and so I thought it would be interesting to talk about everything, what it was like to go through that transition together. Everything happened extremely fast. I met with my doctor, signed paperwork. She told me that it was going to take 2 weeks before they would call me with a surgery date. And she was, also informed me that the date could be far out, but, not to worry, to advocate for myself because, dates came up more frequently just because of COVID, and, maybe people ended up with COVID and had to cancel. It was the winter, just different reasons. Mm-hmm. It was 4 days later that they called me, and they're like, hey, we have a date open. Does this work for you? And it happened to be 2 days after Christmas. Yeah. So it worked out well in the sense that Leon had already scheduled time off from work because Noelle was going to be on winter break. My mom was pretty much like, I move when you move. Like, you just tell me when it's going to be and I'm going to be there. And so we just we just went for it. And a thought just left my mind. We got ready. So I share on our YouTube channel and some other videos the type of supplies I got, the ways that I prepared. It was a lot of supplements, herbal tea, just different things that holistically would help my body recover much faster. Different foods I knew I wanted to have, nutrient dense foods I wanted to have to make sure my body recovered in the best way possible. And so I did all of those things like wedge pillows, button down pajama dresses, just to not have to like lift my arms too much, heating pad, just everything that I could take from other people's experience and make a part of my own. I took the time to like make out a whole list, buy all of the supplies and get myself ready. And so we did that. We enjoyed Christmas together as a family. We gave Noelle a heads up that this was happening. And on December 27th, we went to the hospital. My surgery was scheduled for noon. It was scheduled to take between 3 and 4 hours. And we got there. I forget what time we had to be there. We had to be there at like, I don't even think it was that early. Maybe it was like 10, 2 hours before. No, it was earlier than that. I'm sorry. It was earlier.
School. It was like, how are we going to do this if mom wasn't here?
So we get there, they do all of their pre-op stuff. Long story short, we were just a little like an hour behind schedule to go back to the OR because they were waiting for OR. So instead of starting at noon, they started my surgery at 1. The nerves hit around noon because I was like trying to stay calm, trying to be ready, and then to have to wait another hour was when it was kind of like, all right, y'all, like now I'm getting annoyed, now I'm getting nervous. I got really nervous as they were rolling me back, but I didn't even make it for them to tell me to count down. They moved me onto the table. I had already told the anesthesiologist I was nervous. He gave me something on the way back to the OR. He asked me, did it work? I said no. So he gave me more. And, I don't remember much else. I woke up and it was a little after 6. It felt like Leon must have been around the corner. I was like, where's my husband? They're like, we'll go get him right now. And I felt like I blinked and he was right there. But I think for me, everything was still like in slow motion.
No, I was right there. I was on there behind. As soon as that thing turned yellow, I was out.
It was like slow and fast at the same time. It was like really weird. But the surgery went well. There was no issues. Nothing came up that was unexpected. Everything pretty much went according to plan. They were hoping to go in vaginally, but my uterus ended up being too big that they had to go in laparoscopically, which meant that they went through my belly button. But once I woke up, they had to wait at least till 8 o'clock to take my catheter out to see if I would be able to go to the bathroom on my own. So once they did that, I got walking. I went to the bathroom right away. So we got discharged the same night. As soon as I came home, pulled into the driveway, my mom was waiting outside to help me get in the house. I mean, everything just kind of like flowed. So I was really loopy day 1, but the pain actually hit when we got home. And I wasn't uncomfortable in the car. It was more getting in bed and realizing that you can't move like how you're used to moving. So how I'm used to sleeping, I couldn't sleep anymore.
Welcome to my world.
And so that was uncomfortable. That was an adjustment. But the first day was day 2 was probably the hardest, because then anesthesia had worn off and then the actual pain had like set in, and I was like trying not to take, it wasn't that I wasn't trying to take pain meds, but I think I was scoring my pain better than it was. Like I don't think I was being realistic. I think I was trying to tolerate it versus just saying like, girl, they gave you pain meds for a reason. Just take the meds. So when Leon finally was like, you can take your pain meds. Because I had told myself, because of night 1, I said, I should take it for sleep. So I can just sleep through the night and not have to wake back up and do nothing. So I'm going to just save them for sleep. And then during the day, he was like, you can take them. And I was like, you know what? You're right. Let me take something. And I'm so glad I did, because then I was able to walk around so much more. It just took the edge off. It wasn't, of course I didn't feel I was comfortable, but it was like I needed the edge taken off. It was like I could tolerate it, but it was very like an airable like way of tolerating it. And then from there, every day got a little bit better. Slowly and surely, every day got a little bit better. When my mom was here, she did a lot of the cooking and what I felt like was tending to my needs. So it was whenever I wanted something to eat or drink, she was ready to handle all of those things.
Yeah, she ain't do nothing for me. Chopped liver.
Was you chopped liver, or did she cook for everybody?
I asked for a plate. You get it yourself. I'm disabled, man.
What do you feel like was the hardest part for you?
Probably just, I think just having to play with Noah all day. Other than that, it wasn't too bad. I was prepared for it mentally. My body was ready for it. Damn. My body was ready for it. It wasn't bad at all to me.
Well, that's good.
The no sex thing was trash, but other than that, yeah, it was fun. Noelle was cool. I think mom was cooking like a lot of different stuff, so it was just so much stuff in the refrigerator. I think I was just like, oh no. But mom was making cakes and stuff. That was the problem. Because I don't eat I try not to eat a lot of sweets. I eat ice cream at night, but I try not to have a lot of sweets. And it was like a bakery in here every other day. Every other day it was some new confectionery delight.
And we all had to partake. She was like, I'm not doing this alone. If I'm eating cake, you're eating cake too. If I'm having a cupcake, you're having a cupcake.
I'd be having the munchies, and I was like, give me all of it. I would just eat the cookies for breakfast.
It was good. I actually was worried that it was going to be very overwhelming for you, because once Noelle went back to school, it was like drop off, pick up, gymnastics, swim lessons, and then still having to play with her, and then still having to make sure I'm okay, and making sure we're spending time together and that you're spending time alone and taking care of yourself. I think the hardest thing for me was the reality check that it was mentally harder than it was going to be, because once I think I took the pain meds maybe the first three days, and then after that I felt okay. And then once I gave into the belly band, because I was very against it, I kept thinking it was going to feel very restricting and very uncomfortable, but then once I actually really started using it, it was almost uncomfortable to have it off versus having it on. And so the hardest part for me was feeling good and having to constantly remind myself that my body is still healing, your body is still healing, and I didn't want to do anything that was going to set me back. Because once I started really moving around and wanting to go outside, wanting to walk more, then it was like I kind of wanted to take care of myself. Like I wanted to make my
washing your butt no more?
Stop it. I wanted to make my own food and make my own tea, and not that I completely felt like a burden, but I just wanted to feel like I could do something other than lay in bed. Even though after a while laying in bed I was okay with all of it. I thought it was going to be like restless and annoying, and I was going to be like over it. No, ma'am. I had plenty. I mean, some days I felt the weird part of it was I had a list of things that I wanted to watch to keep me from being bored, and I had no desire to watch things though. It was like that part of it was weird for me, was that I just kind of felt tired, that even though I had plenty of time to lay around and I could binge things, I went through my list and there were just certain types of things that I was like,
putting stuff together basically.
Yeah, it was just certain things I just didn't even want to watch. I just felt like I was just existing, but then that felt like it wasn't enough of a distraction. Like it was weird to say, like, I'm laying here, I really can't do anything else. I should watch TV, but I don't want to do that. I can't focus enough to do anything important. Like, I needed it to be like mindless, but I didn't even have that in me. And I'm still tired to this day, guys. That's one of the things that the effects afterwards that I was not anticipating. I don't think people talked enough about that in their videos, and all of the content that I took in was still feeling tired after all of these weeks, even though I felt like I did everything right. I checked all of the boxes. I made sure I had the nutrient dense foods in. I made sure I took all of my supplements. I made sure I hydrated as best as I could. I know I didn't do the best at that because I had headaches for a while too. I made sure I walked enough, and I'm still trying to get back in the swing of, my workout routine and still giving my body what it needs. I just still feel tired. Like, I still feel like I have a hard time concentrating, and it's weird because I'm back in my routine. So I feel like I want to be like back to everything the way that I was used to it being, and it's just not. And I don't know when it'll be.
You gotta think about it. You were down 2 months. You're going to take 4 months to probably get back. I was always trash after I got off of recovery.
Well, now I know what that means when you say you was trash, because now I feel it.
That's why I was like, that's why they was telling me, like, get real active when I had my big surgery, because imagine laying around that many weeks and then trying to get in a wheelchair to first.
Yeah. Oh, and even when I went to see my doctor for my follow-up at my 8-week mark, which really was 7, but that's a whole other story. She did remind me that you did just have surgery. So it's like a part of me is like, oh, it's been 8 weeks, but then everybody else is like, it's only been 8 weeks. Like, it's not, it's not the same thing. Your body is still recovering. You did just have major surgery, and my scars look phenomenal, by the way. That was another thing I did not mention, was that
no scars.
They almost look non-existent. So I'm pretty excited about that as well. But it was an interesting process. It was my first time having a major surgery. So there was a lot of that worry, concern, not knowing really what to expect, because everybody's experience truly is going to be different. It was my fear of, will I wake up? Even though this is like a normal surgery that they probably do multiple times a day. I did not want to be that person that did not wake up, because I wanted to do what I thought was right for me. I didn't want that to be the thing to take me out.
She went out happy.
She went out fighting. So it was an interesting process, and I'm kind of glad it's behind me. It feels very surreal at the same time. I told Leon that it's almost as if it didn't even happen. It's like I sent my mom back home after my 4-week checkup because she changed my restrictions. So I was able to bend more. I was able to...
Yes, she was.
Huh? I was able to lift more. And so I kind of felt like... and because Noelle handled it so well, I knew that I could talk her through, Mommy can do a little bit more. Not everything, but a little bit more. So that meant if I took her to swim practice... swimming lessons, that she would still be hands-on, because she knew I couldn't do everything. So, and I thought she would, and she would be excited to have me back in the swing of things. So my mom did go home after my 4-week checkup. She went home closer to what was 5 weeks by the time she scheduled her train. And then it was funny because we were on our way to the train station, and Noelle's like, are you all better? And I'm like, no, not yet. And she's like, wait, what do you mean? I thought that's why I was going home. Like, I would have stayed longer. And I'm like, I just feel bad. You have your own life to live, and I feel like I'm kind of holding that up. And also,
it was funny. I forgot about that.
Also, we talked about this. So were you not paying attention? So I was okay with her going home. She was here for a long time. And not that, it went well. It wasn't as if, it was like, oh gosh, I'm ready for her to get out of here. She came, days before my surgery, because she was trying to beat
Christmas.
She was trying to beat the holiday traffic and trains and all of that stuff. So she came a little bit early, and then she stayed a little late. So yeah, it went great. Again, lost my train of thought. Yeah, I got back into the swing of things after 4 weeks. So by the time I did have my checkup at the 8-week mark, it felt like I was already back into our normal routine. I was already back to doing the things I was used to doing for the most part. Like, I was still mindful of like not carrying too many groceries at one time, not picking her up because, she weighed more than I could lift. So I was still mindful, like not picking up cases of water. But then by the time I was able to, everything kind of already felt pretty close to normal, that it does feel like it almost never even happened.
That's good. I still remember my surgery every day.
I want to share this one last thing, only because it just happened. I was telling Leon how I had a dream last night. And in my dream last night, I was pregnant. We were having a boy. And it was
supposed to make me happy because you said
it was an unplanned pregnancy. We never planned on having another kid. So in this dream, we were pregnant and it was going to be a boy, and we were so excited that we were pregnant, and Noelle was excited that she was going to get to be a big sister. And it felt very like normal. It felt like it didn't feel like a dream. I mean, of course I knew it was, because you know how in your dream everything's still different. Like, you're still the same, Noelle's still the same, the premise is still the same, but like, we're on set. Like, this is not our house. Like, everything else about it,
I feel you. I don't have no
feels
dreams.
like different. But then in the dream, I don't even remember what part of the dream actually woke me up, but I woke up from the dream and I realized that it was a dream. And I think it was because part that made it so hard was like, in the dream, I had accepted that we were going to have another baby because we never planned on doing it. And so I had wrapped my head around starting all over again and doing this thing that we had never decided to do. But because it's a baby, you just get so excited. You're like, this is not what I wanted, but it's a baby and it's us and it's a boy this time. Like, how great is this? So then when I woke up, it was like shattering to say like, oh my God, it was only a dream. But then it was also like, oh my God, it's also something that'll never be a reality. Even if we wanted to, even if we changed our mind, I can't. And that was so weird. It was so like, it took me a couple minutes to actually like get myself together this morning to like move past it, because it was like, girl, you don't have a uterus. That can never be a story. That can never be real. But at the same time, we never planned on having another one. So
she's planning on having another one. I don't know how she planned.
I think it's because
keep having these stories, keep having these dreams, these visions, these cravings at random times. She want a kid, man. I don't want another.
I know, I was having all kinds of cravings before the surgery. Leon was like, girl, you can't be having these weird cravings. What if we find out the day of surgery I'm actually pregnant and they can't do it? And Leon was like, not for it. I don't know. I think because even though we decided we always knew we were done, I think just because physically the possibility was always there, it was just kind of like, if it ever happened, to me, it felt like it had to be God's will for us, because there were so many things that felt like it wasn't going to happen.
No way in the world that God would have us to have Jesus too.
It wouldn't have been Jesus too. It would have been Leon Jr.
Whole lot of miracle in that.
That's what I'm saying. If we would have ended up pregnant, it would have been like, this was meant to be. How could you be mad? Like, literally, God showed up and showed out. He was like, listen, y'all know I'll be performing miracles. Here go another one. And little LJ was going to be what he was going to be. He clearly had to be like somebody real important for God to be like, I need bruh on earth. He needs to be here. That's how I always looked at it. Like, I can't be mad if that would have happened, but I no longer have a uterus, and they put it in a bag and made it all mashy. That is literally null and void. It was also twice as big as it was supposed to be, so I'm kind of glad it's gone.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode about my recovery. I don't know if we answered any questions that you guys may have had, but if you do have any questions, drop them below and we can always answer them at another time and maybe in another episode. So we will see you guys in 2 weeks.
Peace out.
Bye.
Bye-bye.